Good afternoon, everybody. It is meteorologist into a forecast, and welcome back to another video, guys. This is going to be another tropical weather outlook, and guys, it is looking like Tropical Storm Barbara can become a hurricane by today, in the next couple of hours, and it's looking like it's going to get a lot stronger. A lot of the models are showing it getting to a lot more than a major hurricane. So, guys, if you guys all want to know the next updates and new information, just stay tuned. Alright, guys, so now we're going to be looking at the 5-day graphical weather outlook. So as you can tell, we do have Barbara at the tropical storm still. It has grown a lot since yesterday. 70 miles per hour winds, 5 more miles per hour, and then it's a category 1. So it's going to be to get into a category 1. 991 millibars, that's a lot stronger. So you can tell it really did intensify by last night, moving at 16 miles per hour wind, 16 miles per hour to the west. So it's moving to the direction of Hawaii. And again, it's gonna make landfall by next week, potentially July 10th in Hawaii. And guys, there's a lot of new updates based on the tracks and all the the guidance and all that. So that's this. So that's for the 5-day graphical outlook. So now we'll be looking at one of these satellite imagery that we have been looking at. So you can tell we do have the strongest part right here. This is what you want to call it. Wait, that's really the center of the storm right there. That's where you see the eye walls right here. Oops, that's really bad. So this purple is where you see like the worst of it right there. So you see the center has moved a lot more. Like it was going towards the side, and now it's going more to the center. So that means it is getting a lot better. Now you see all these bands though. All these bands are like the outer bands that bring heavy rain, and then this is like the eye wall and the eye formation. So that's what it's looking like there, and you see the purple and the gray is like the really strong winds, all compacted there. There's a lot of vorticity there, a lot of organization, and it's just very organized. So that's what it's looking like at the satellite imagery. That's number 1. Now number 2, this is another satellite imagery we've been looking at, and it looks a lot organized as well here. So you can see all the clouds. You can see the center right here. This is the center right here, and here is the circulation. This is like let's say the inside part of it, and then you see the outer bands are all stretching right here. Some outer bands coming in. I know it looks really messy here, but it's all putting it together. This is where you really want to see that eye formation, where the eye will be, and then the eye wall will be surrounding there. But you see a lot of vorticity, which is like having that rotation, like we see with the tornado, with that rotation. That's what you see here too. See all this vorticity, which is that for those winds moving it around into like a circle. So that's where you get that formation into a hurricane. So again, it's all the winds are moving right here. It's really really messy, like on the drawing, but it's a lot more organized when like you think about it here. And then we have these outer bands. The bands are pretty large. You can tell they're stretching all around. Unlike you see, like they're like separate little ones, but they're like all big bands stretching across right here, like a couple hundred miles. It's a good amount of band, and that's going to bring up to 5 inches for Hawaii before the eye wall and the eye even comes around. Now we're going to be looking at the timing and the cone. So you can tell 8 a.m. today it was a tropical storm there, and that's where it was right there. And guys, as you can tell, it's going to be turning to a hurricane soon, very soon though. Maybe the next hour or so, or maybe by tonight. As you can tell, the next step up is that H, which stands for hurricane. We might get those hurricane current wind extents. We might see some warnings for hurricanes out there. But as you can tell, it's really, really close to getting to a hurricane. It's moved a bit since 8 a.m., so it might get there around 5 o'clock. At 5 a.m. tomorrow, it is still a hurricane, getting a lot stronger. Same thing for tomorrow at 5 p.m., still getting to a hurricane. Potentially maybe a strong category 1 by then. And then, as you can also hear, that's an M for, I believe it's a major hurricane. I believe that's what the M stands for, at major hurricane. So it's going to get there to a category 3 or above. Then it's going to be a major hurricane for 5 a.m. Thursday. Potentially, that's when we can get to that category 4 status. And again, this cone here with the gray colors, that's for the next 1 to 3 days. So based on this, in the next basically 3 days, we can see a major hurricane developing. And then on this transparent cone, we do have that's the next 4 to 5 days. So it's really a lot bigger because it's harder to track. But 5 a.m. Friday, looking like a hurricane. But then 5 a.m. Saturday, showing getting to a tropical storm. And guys, that's the new update we're talking about. It is showing it weakening before it does get to Hawaii. Yesterday, it was showing it getting stronger for Hawaii, but now it's showing it getting a bit weaker before it even hits Hawaii. So it looks like Hawaii can just maybe get less rain, less winds, but again, it's still looking like it could hit Hawaii as a tropical storm. But again, it is very far from landing in Hawaii, so it can change back to having a lot of winds and a lot of impact. But we can't rule out the thought of having a major hurricane hitting Hawaii. As you can tell, all of the basically all the models are showing it. I want to say 99% of the models are showing it in this type of direction. You see, it's going to be all compacted right here, and then it shows it spreading out. So we have a maybe 100 or 200 miles of a diameter of like where it's going to go once it gets to the next 3 days right here. That's where it starts to go here or straight or a bit more there. But either way, it's looking like it's going to be spilling out into this. It's going to be going out to the Central Pacific without a doubt. Even wherever it's going, it's going to be going to the Central Pacific. But a lot of the models are showing it going straight into the direction of Hawaii, which is not a good thing. We do not want that heading straight towards Hawaii. But another good thing is right now the models are showing it weakening to a tropical storm before that happened. So that's a bit better. But the bad thing is, guys, it is showing it getting a lot stronger. This hurricane, Hurricane Barbara, could potentially be one of the worst hurricanes we've actually seen recently in parts of the Pacific for the past couple of years. And I know that's a really big thing to say, but it is very true. So you can tell it's very close to getting to a tropical hurricane. Looking like maybe the next 6 or in between the next 2 or 6 hours is where these models are showing it turning to a Category 1, and all the models are showing it just rising up. These winds are rising up. 50% of the models are going up like this and then going back down by, it gets to like 120 hours. That's where it starts to weaken before it gets to Hawaii. And then another good amount of the models do show it staying at a Category 1 and Category 2, and then going back down to a Category 1 and going back to a tropical storm. So all the models are showing it turning to a tropical storm by the next 108 hours. So by that point, that's where you can see it weakening. But the thing is, a lot of the models do show it getting into a Category 2, which is not a major hurricane yet, but it's getting there. And then a lot of the models, I would say maybe 60%, do show it getting to a Category 3, which is a major hurricane. We have so many models just rising up by the hour, going straight up. And then even more surprising, about 4 or 5 models do show it getting to a Category 4, which is really, really strong, a very strong Category 4 hurricane. Not looking like it's going to get to a Category 5. That is highly doubtable, but it is getting to a Category 4, which is quite strong. It looks like it can really devastate some areas next to Hawaii, but we still, again, need to wait if it's actually going to affect Hawaii as a hurricane. Now we're going to be looking at the winds. This is where you're really going to see where it starts to fall apart, really. It starts to evaporate a little bit. This is where we're going to see it fall apart. Like what I mean. This is the new update again. So you can tell the next 6 hours, it gets to 65 knots. That's where it's looking like it's going to get that formation. Looking like it's going to get to a hurricane there. Next 24 hours, it does look a lot more organized, getting up to 75 knots. Very close. That's like, I believe, 80 miles per hour, or very close to there. So it's getting to a Category 1 by the next 24 hours. You see the outer bands in that light green color. That's like 30 knots, I believe. And then by the next 48 hours, it gets even stronger at 103 knots, getting very close to these Category 2 force winds. You can see it's very big. It's about the size of Texas and a little bit of Oklahoma. That's how big this hurricane is. And then the next 72 hours, it gets even stronger, 119 knots, even more outer bands. And the thing you can really see about this, from all the way far here, you can see the eye. And what you tell by the eye is that the eye does not have any storms. It's very sunny in the eye. That's what's really interesting about hurricanes. And you can actually see that that white dot right there. That's the eye. Next 114 hours it does weaken. I did say it does weaken as it gets closer to Hawaii. In the next 114 hours, it does get to 99 knots, so it does weaken quite a bit. And then by the next 150 hours, it does go to 71 knots. So it really does lose its formation. It really does lose its circulation, does lose its wind, all its power. And by the time it gets to Hawaii, it is showing a bit later of a landing in Hawaii. It is showing maybe the 12th of July now, not the 10th, but it does showing landing in Hawaii at 50 knots and ripping through all those islands with some possibly damaging wind. And the thing is, we could still have power outages in that area because the saturated soil 50 knots can really do some damage really there. But it's going to look like it's going to hit as a tropical storm or as Tropical Storm Barbara. Here's the vorticity now. This is where you're also going to see it fall apart. 48 hours is looking like it's going to get to possibly a very strong Category 1. And then by the next 72 hours, getting maybe possibly to a major hurricane Category 3, moving up a lot of energy. And then when it gets to like 130 hours, it does start to fall apart. And also, it does show it going south, a little bit more south, and then taking a north turn, really north turn, off into the western part of the islands. It's looking like it's going to hit the Big Island. The Big Island, the worst, is looking like they're going to get hit the worst. And then it's going to get into some colder waters as it gets next to the Malibu areas and next to the Honolulu areas and those in the Maui area. That's where it's looking like it's going to start to fall apart. But the GFS does show it, the hurricane. If you look at the rain now with the millibars, it does show it getting a lot stronger now. So now it does show it get to 961 millibars. A lot stronger than we thought earlier. It did not go lower than 970, but now it's going there 963, and then again it does go back to weakening at 988 millibars, and then by the time it does show not even being a tropical storm before even hitting Hawaii. So guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this update. Please not forget to like and subscribe for new tropical weather updates on Barbara, and be sure to subscribe for daily updates. And see you guys in the next video. Bye.